Welcome to Sage Dad Life, the podcast that's on a mission to raise better kids and to highlight the importance of fathers in doing so. So today we got a great show for you. We're going to talk a little bit about some feedback that I received after the first one, and I'm going to try and be a little bit more peppy. I listened to it myself, and I was a little bit um, droning, so I'm going to try and pick it up a bit and see where it goes from there. But we'll address a little bit of feedback that I received. We're going to talk about a father's role in the health of the family. My newfound mission to master the game of Go and to incorporate that into my child rearing. We've got a couple of books to feature today, and we've got a very special guest. Okay, let's get to it. I want to take a minute to address some feedback I received. It's important, and honestly, it highlights one of the biggest issues I see surrounding modern fatherhood. I've been told some of the things I do for Sage Dad Life. It just makes it seem like I'm a single dad. Let me be absolutely clear. I'm not. I have a wonderful wife who works tirelessly every day to build a safe, happy, loving environment for Sage. She's an incredible mother, and the work she does is invaluable. Being a present father doesn't necessarily mean that there's a missing mother. This podcast is all about fatherhood and the importance of dad showing up, being present, being engaged. That's the mission, and that's why I built Sage Dad Life. Not to share my personal life and how wonderful I am and that I'm the only one who does anything. That's far from the truth and far from what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to emphasize the role that fathers play and why that role matters. You know, Sage's mom, she's not particularly a social media person, and she prefers privacy. I deeply respect that. Just because you don't see her or hear about her often doesn't mean she's not a vital part of our family. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So much of what I get to do as a father. The fun moments that I share with Sage are made possible because she handles a lot of the day-to-day tasks that keep everything running smoothly. For that, I'm forever grateful. Same was true of my first wife when we were raising our older kids. Mothers are some of the most special, incredible people in the world, and their contribution can never be overstated. The Journal of Marriage and Family highlights that mothers play this critical role in the emotional and psychological development of their children. Nurturing presence of fosters security and resilience, and I don't think anybody could argue with that. Mothers are incredibly important. But being a present father shouldn't require justification. It is unfortunate that when a dad is deeply involved, people assume there must be a reason, that maybe the mom isn't in the picture, that maybe something is missing. And that's part of the problem, I think, with fatherhood today. When dads step up, it's often seen as the exception as opposed to the expectation. The National Institute for Child Health and Human Development found that children with involved fathers tend to be better academically. They have higher self-esteem, stronger social skills. Being an engaged father is not just beneficial, it's essential. We need to change the mindset around fatherhood. A father's presence in a child's life should be celebrated and never questioned. Dads aren't just assistants, occasional caregivers. We are equal partners in raising our children, and we each bring something unique, just as mothers do. Now, this isn't a comparison or competition. It's about embracing the full picture of parenthood, showing up, making memories. It's about being there not just as providers, but as nurturers, role models, and active participants in our children's lives. So if you've ever wondered why Sage Dad Life focuses on fatherhood, now you know. It's not because there's a mother that's not present. It's because I think fathers are important, not more important than mothers. It's because for far too long, fatherhood hasn't been given the attention that it deserves. The Pew Research Center states that modern fathers spend nearly 3 times as much time with their children as dads did in the 60s. But societal expectations are still really lagging behind. My hope is that sharing my journey and the difference between, raising a kid in the early 90s and raising a kid now in the 2020s can encourage dads to be more fully engaged. We help redefine what it means to be a father, not as a secondary role, not as an afterthought, but as an essential, irreplaceable part of the child's life. This episode of Sage Dad Life could be sponsored by your brand. Just like fatherhood, the best things in life come with support, guidance, and a little wisdom. Help dads navigate their journey with confidence. For your quality brand, we're proud to present engaged and empowered fathers. Visit www.sagedad.life or email rob@sagedad.life for more information. Today, we're going to talk about some of the biggest responsibilities we carry as fathers. Creating healthy, happy family. There's no blueprint for the perfect family. There never will be. But the research shows that a family well-being is deeply linked to the physical, emotional, and mental health of its members. According to studies in the Journal of Marriage and Family, strong parental involvement, emotional support significantly contribute to children's long-term mental and physical health. As fathers, we set the tone for the household, and we show up. It impacts people, the people we love the most. I learned this firsthand as a father of grown children, now raising my toddler. My approach has changed. The energy and patience I had in my 20s are not the same in my 50s. But the wisdom and perspective I've gained is invaluable. I now understand the importance of being fully present and making sure that my family is thriving on all levels. The role we play in our family's well-being, our presence, our energy, our habits, influence our family's health and happiness. Let's kind of break it down into what I see as key areas. Supporting your spouse or your partner, nurturing our children, and staying connected with extended family. Supporting your spouse. A strong relationship is the foundation of a stable family. Research from the Gotham Institute emphasizes the importance of emotional attunement, which basically means active listening, responding to your partner's emotional needs, and a healthy relationship between parents helps foster a secure environment for children. I've learned this lesson over time. Early in my marriage, I focused so much on work and providing financially that I would say that I neglected emotional support. And I've realized that being a provider isn't just about money. It's about providing love, encouragement, strong partnership. Something as simple as taking time to ask, how was your day? And really listening, I think could strengthen relationships. But as a father and taking this active role, I want to nurture my children. And I want to make sure that they thrive emotionally and physically, and they feel secure. The American Academy for Pediatrics say that positive father involvement improves self-esteem, academic performance, emotional regulation. The way that we handle stress, express love, and care for ourselves models that behavior for their world. I see this every day in my daughter. When she sees me staying calm during stressful moments, she learns how to manage her own emotions. When I take the time to play with her, engage in her world, and encourage her curiosity, she grows more confident. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the little moments that make the biggest impact. Staying connected with extended family, social scientists have long studied, the benefits of extended family connections, the Journal of Family Psychology. Children who maintain relationships with their grandparents and other extended relatives experience a greater sense of identity and emotional security. Family bonds offer support systems that contribute to overall well-being. I grew up in relatively tight-knit family. We didn't have the Sunday dinners at grandparents' house as a weekly tradition because we were living separately. But I still felt very connected to my grandparents. And those experiences shaped my sense of belonging and gave me a strong foundation. Now, as a father, I try to make sure that my daughter has the same connection with her older siblings, aunts, uncles, and grandparents. These relationships help create a sense of stability, and they will be a support system that will last a lifetime for them. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about taking care of your own health. Now, here's the part that a lot of dads, especially those later in our years, don't always think about. Taking care of ourselves is probably one of the greatest gifts you can give your family. I've thought a lot about my own mortality. Like everyone else, I haven't always made the best choices. I was a smoker from my teens to my 40s. 3 decades of a habit I wish I could take back and never start. Thankfully, besides some mild emphysema, I'm doing okay. But I'm not going to leave it up to chance. 2 years ago, I started, after I had quit smoking for 2 years plus, I started doing regular screenings for lung cancer, which was really emotional the first time, nerve-wracking. So far so good. I'm going to keep doing it every year because my health is no longer just about me. It's about Sage. It's about my wife, my grown kids, and anyone who loves me. These are things in life you can't control, but you can have a proactive impact on your health. And as a father, you should, get regular checkups. The National Institute for Aging shows that, just preventative healthcare screenings can significantly improve life expectancy and the quality of life you're living. I don't always do this as well as I should, but move your body. The CDC says even moderate daily exercise reduces the risks of heart disease, diabetes, mental health disorders, eating better. We'll talk a lot about that because that has been a struggle my entire life. The science emphasizes that a balanced diet rich in whole foods, not ultra processed foods, can extend your life and reduce chronic disease risk. Lastly, take care of your mental health. Research, all kinds of research, but the American Psychological Association highlights a lot about stress and how stress negatively impacts heart health, immune function, even cognitive decline. Prioritizing stress management benefits both you and your family. I had a wake-up call. I've had several wake-up calls. I often joke that I've had several midlife crises as well. But, keeping up with my daughter is important. And any time that I sort of stumbled with that, I always spend a lot of time thinking about, I don't want to be the dad who sits on the sidelines. And I started making small changes, started prioritizing my diet again, being mindful of my stress, anxiety. And now I can say that I have more energy and I can be more present with my family. At the end of the day, we're not just raising kids. We're shaping a family that thrives. Our well-being is deeply connected to their well-being. And when we show up for ourselves, we show up better for them. And when we create an environment of love and stability and health, we we set our children up for a future where they know what it means to take care of themselves and those that they love. So let's keep going, let's keep learning, and let's keep making the best choices that we can. Because being father is a journey that is worth being present for. And as an older father, I feel like I have a deeper responsibility to be healthy enough to see her through her milestones. Just stay good. For this episode of Sage Dad Life, I have a very special guest. His name's Joe, and he and I have worked together on a variety of projects over the years, and he has always been someone that I respect and just truly a great human being. And he is a father, and I will let him tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll get right into it. Welcome, Joe.
I'm a dad. It's funny. I'm automatically thinking that I need to tell you about my daughter. I am a dad to a 13-year-old girl who was pretty amazing. But I do all kinds of marketing things in the world and have done that for a long time. And that's really me in a nutshell, I guess. I play music and have played music most of my life. But most of my time now is spent working and taking care of my daughter.
Excellent. Hey, take us back a little bit to like when you first found out you were going to be a dad. You know, how did that hit you, and what emotions ran through you?
Yeah, sure. So it was a bit of a different experience maybe for her because my wife at the time had a couple miscarriages early on that I don't think anybody knew about, but so we had been on this roller coaster of kind of emotions that you have in those situations. And so when I found out that we were having Remy, my daughter, the first, obviously just a flood of emotions of excitement and gratitude, but also given the situation, there was a lot of caution and just hoping that this process would go in our favor. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to go to some very high risk pregnancy physicians, and everything ended up turning out great.
Excellent. Did you have any initial fears or doubts about fatherhood in general? Did you feel like you were ready?
Oh yeah. Oh, no, not at all. No, I spent most of my 20s and frankly far too long playing in bands. I mean, I had a professional job, as you know, but I also played in bands, and that was another part of my life. And my life up to that point was really about me. I don't consider myself an especially selfish person in the sense that I don't care about other people. That's not it. It's just I do really what I want. I did what I wanted. If I didn't want to go to something, I didn't go to it. If I didn't want to be a part of something, I wasn't a part of it. I just had a very, everything was focused around what I wanted to do. And so I wasn't sure how that was going to work. And I was very aware of it, that I was going to have to give up a lot of things, or at least that's the way I looked at it at that point. And so I had no idea. I thought I was going to be potentially a terrible father. And I was really counting on my daughter being great without a lot of intervention on my part. I had a lot of apprehension for sure.
Did you have anybody in particular or anything in particular that influenced the kind of father you wanted to be?
No, not at all. Just to get, I guess maybe the point of this is to get a little personal, but my childhood was interesting in that my parents were good people. They were very good people, but they had their own issues that they dealt with very much in front of my sister and I. They did not get along so well, and my mom, I believe that she had some abuse in her history, and she struggled with some mental things, and she just screamed every day of my life, pretty much. And my dad was very much a manly man who didn't express a lot of emotions and just absorbed the screaming for the most part. So it's hard to say that, a lot of people would say, oh, my parents, I looked up to my parents, and I have sort of the inverse thing, and I say that with also wanting to respect that I do believe that they did the best they could with the tools they had. I don't have any anger towards them at this point for anything, but they certainly were not the role model that I wanted to emulate. So if anything, it was the antithesis of that. I wanted my daughter to have an incredibly calm, incredibly grounded, the opposite of chaos. I wanted to be able to provide that for her. And so really, if anything, that is what motivated how I thought I would be approaching everything. And there wasn't a specific person or specific people that I had in my life that I really was able to look to and say, this is the way it's done. And I would add to that I've wondered at times, perhaps maybe, the pendulum swung too far. That maybe I there are times when I needed to be a little bit more like my parents, but for whatever reasons, I have taken the path exact opposite of what happened in my childhood.
Fair enough. I mean, you talked a little bit about this shift to not being able to do everything you wanted to do when you wanted to do it, but any other shifts in your identity when you became a dad?
Yeah, certainly. So there are a lot of different ways to answer this question. Remy was born in a very transitional period in my life. I had just left a job that I'd worked at for 10 years, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but I think I had something like 6 months' salary as a package when I left there, and I stayed home with her for the first 6 months. And I say stayed home. I mean, the reality is I ended up working for myself eventually, and so I've sort of always been home. But I was given this opportunity where I got to stay home with her, and even when my wife had gone back to work, I was the primary caregiver for a long time, and that's a perspective that a lot of dads don't get to have. So my life changed dramatically. The way I thought of myself and my identity changed dramatically because I'd gone from, what I thought in my head was this cool guy who played music and did all these cool things and had this, job and was important, to just a very real, stuck in the present moment, having to attend to the needs of a child, 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day. And in my case, she was she had a lot of needs. She was very vocal, and that certainly took a toll. But the way I saw myself changed dramatically, and I have such an appreciation for women who stay home and women who care for the children, because I know how difficult it is. It drove me nuts, for sure. So it's just a very different perspective, and my identity as this cool person kind of changed, and I realized that I was not it wasn't about me. I was not the center of the universe, and my perspective had to shift quite a bit just to meet the demands of everything that happened every day.
Anything from that time when you were able to stay home with her that you realized this is a completely different world to me I'm stepping into, and life will never be the same?
Every moment, every single moment. It's full of these like beautiful moments of recognizing like what an amazing thing we're experiencing. I don't know what it is, this whole consciousness situation, but to, when I remember when I first saw her, just to step back for a second, when I first saw her in the hospital, thinking I'm going to fail at this so bad. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I think my first words to her were, please forgive me. I am going to screw this up somehow, and I am not going to be perfect, but I'm, looking at you right now, I cannot imagine loving anything more than loving you. It changes everything. And so you have those moments when you're at home taking care of a child where it's magical and you realize how special it is, and you realize you've got to try to hold on to this and you don't want them to get another second older. And then you also have those moments where, she's been crying for an hour straight. There's nothing you can do to stop it. You feel like a complete failure. All you want to do is cry. Nothing, it just seems like you can't do anything right. And it's incredibly humbling and emotional. And I felt all the time like I don't know if I can do this, and you just keep going.
Yeah. There's a lot of challenging moments that pop up, as a dad. Is there any particular moment that stands out in your mind, and how'd you get through it?
Yeah. So I've had many. She is incredibly strong-willed. I think one of the surprising things that, and I understand every child is different, and hopefully maybe my kid is an anomaly in this situation, but she is incredibly strong-willed, and I'm lucky that she also seems to be a really good person, so that she doesn't end up being an evil dictator. But I think dealing with her will at times was early on some of the most challenging things. She was not fazed at all by any sort of punitive action. So she could be put in timeout. She could be, we could take anything away. It didn't matter at all. She would scream for 3 hours if she needed to. I mean, that's just who she is. So I think early on there was kind of a recognition that's like, there's a large percentage of this that I don't have a tremendous amount of control over. But there have been many challenges. There have been things that she's wanted to do, situations that she's struggled with, that I've had to try to figure out and overcome. And I think the thing that, if I had advice for people to give, and again, everybody's situation is different, everybody's child is different, but I just try to be present. I try to listen, because she's 13 now, so we've been through a lot of this stuff. I try to listen well. I try to be respectful. I try to treat her the way I would want to be treated. And again, going back to my situation with my parents, we had a very different relationship. I was just told, this is the way it is. If you don't like it, you're going to get smacked. So I've tried to really listen to her and just be kind and explain logically, like, my reasoning for things. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't work, but we just work it out and get through it. And there have certainly been times that she's not happy with the outcome of that situation, but we've at least had a very respectful conversation about it, and she can go scream in her room or whatever she needs to do. But yeah, many times. We had a situation not that long ago over Snapchat. She wants Snapchat. She says all of her friends have Snapchat. We are not allowing her to have Snapchat at this time because I think the last time I opened it, this is going to sound very old man of me, but I open up Snapchat and you look at like the news features on the Snapchat, and the first thing that I pull up when we're looking at it together as she's making her argument is like, twerk out nation or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well you're 12. You don't need this. This isn't. And so we found this is going to be a plug. I don't know if you've got sponsors, but you should get a sponsor called Zigazoo, because as a joke, one of the things I do a lot is I joke around a lot with her, and I found this app called Zigazoo, which is basically Snapchat but for like ages 4 and up. And so I told her we could compromise and she could have Zigazoo, and I've made this whole routine about Zigazoo, and she hates it. She's really angry. But I told her, she just turned. In fact, Friday was her birthday. She just turned 13, and I told her, again, like, you can have Zigazoo. It's time. You can have Zigazoo. You can honk me on Zigazoo. I don't know what they call it on Zigazoo, but I want it to be called honking. So yeah, all of these things are, incredibly challenging situations, and my approach is just try to treat your kid the way you would want to be treated, but understanding at the end of the day that you have the final say, and they're not going to like that, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Have you had any mentor or guide, anybody who's helped you through this process? Just on your own.
No. Yeah, 100%. I mean, no, not really. This is why I think it will be interesting to hear, maybe in 20 years or when I'm, I don't know how I'll hear it when I'm dead, but it would be interesting to know her perception of her childhood at some point, because I do fear a lot, like that maybe I am a horrible parent because because of the way I approach it, because I am very conversational. I am very like, let's sit down and talk about this. Let me understand why you feel this way. Let me understand why you're wanting to do this. Let me understand, what's going on that has led to this situation. And I mean, we have a lot of deep conversation about things. And sometimes I think, maybe I'm a little too far to that, on that end of the spectrum, and not enough of just like, well, because I'm your parent, now shut up and go do the thing, right? So I joke with her every now and then that I'm a terrible, that sometimes I think I'm a terrible dad because I let her do certain things, or I let her have certain things. But no, I don't really have anybody who I've modeled anything after, other than just my weird kind of eclectic personality. And even that is, again, I don't know. It'd be very interesting to find out what she thinks. I do music. Obviously, I've played music for a long time, and I do video and photography and all kinds of things. And so she's just surrounded with all of this gear all the time. There's always just like gear everywhere. And I think if anything, that will be like a core memory of her childhood, of just like, oh my God, why does my dad have all of this stuff everywhere all the time? Like, there's so many little gadgets everywhere. So I try to keep her engaged in a lot of that. And over the years, some of it has took and some of it hasn't. But as far as just, parenting style and that sort of thing, man, I'm totally winging it.
Has Remy ever really surprised you and somehow become your mentor or taught you something about life?
Yeah, but usually by saying my words back to me, right? Yeah, again, I think there is a percentage of, we could debate the whole nature nurture thing. I am much more on the nature side of things, where I believe that a good percentage of her personality was baked in. Like I don't know that I had control over most of it, to be honest. And it's just, in a lot of cases, luck. I mean, she is someone who seemingly just she's very, like I said, strong-willed, but also she has a bit of wisdom about her, that she knows right and wrong in a way that maybe she's seen demonstrated, but for the most part, it's just part of who she is. She's very much a rule follower. Yeah. And I was that way as a child, but as I've gotten older, I'm less and less that way. You get cynical. You realize kind of some of the ridiculous things in society, and that's been a funny thing where we will have situations where I will break a rule and she points it out to me and has to sort of redirect me back to what she believes needs to happen. And it happens a lot. It happens a lot in the car, for sure. It happens a lot. We had a situation where we're at a grocery store, and we had just pulled up into the parking spot, and a woman took her shopping cart, and just pushed it in front of my car and just left it there. And there's a rack like right next to our cars where she could put the shopping cart. So I got out and I had a conversation with her about it. And my daughter was absolutely mortified. And when I got back, and the lady, like, it didn't end well. The lady, like, flipped me off and drove off, right? But I get back in the car, and Remy's like, "Dad, that was incredibly stupid. Like, why did you do that?" And I explained to her, and I'm not in the wrong. I said, "Look, we just had a conversation. I just explained to her that what if no one ever returned their carts? There's a cart return right there. You're leaving this cart out here. It could smash into anybody's cars. Why not just do the right thing and put the cart up? Like, I am not in the wrong." And she's like, "Yeah, maybe, but what if she had a gun? What if she decided to hit you with the car?" Like, she goes through all of these things. And so in that sense, she definitely has been kind of a counterbalance to my self-righteous sense of justice at times, for sure. And I really appreciate it. It's funny, and I appreciate it.
Have you ever had a moment where you just felt completely lost or overwhelmed? And how'd you find your way back?
Yeah. I would say there are times where you just don't know. You just don't know the right answer. We have a couple situations, and I if she ever hears this, or this ever, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this, but I found out when she was about 2, I started noticing some strange behaviors, some compulsive kind of behaviors, where she would do, different things, like she would lick her hands, or she would do a certain thing with her eyes or whatever. And I started being concerned that maybe she had autism. And we had gone to her pediatrician. The pediatrician said, "Nah, just she's going to grow out of this, no big deal." And then those behaviors just kept changing, and in some cases getting worse. And this went on for a couple of years. And eventually, we got a diagnosis of Tourette's. And I didn't know, what we know of Tourette's is unfortunately what they show on TV, which is people yelling cuss words and uncontrollably, shouting vulgar things. And the vast majority of people with Tourette's, that is not at all what goes on. It's mainly just tics in their body. They have facial tics and hand tics and all kinds of things that they do. It's just a neurological condition that compels someone to do these certain things. And whenever there's a health issue with your kid, and there's not like a clear solution of what, okay, we do this and it's fixed. It's agonizing. And I felt lost. I mean, I had no idea how to help her. It's the most horrible feeling of this person that you love more than anything in the world not being able to fix something, and looking at a situation and realizing, like, this isn't their fault. Like, this thing that's happening to them, they didn't do anything to deserve this. And I'm talking about Tourette's. I mean, I can't imagine someone going through their child having cancer or leukemia or something horrific like that. I mean, there are just these moments where anything that comes up health related, you realize how helpless at times you can be. And in that particular situation, I mean, obviously we went with the best advice we could at the time with healthcare people. And as always, I spent a lot of time talking to her about it and talking about how she felt about these things. And we were able eventually to get her to a psychologist as well, who helped provide like a framework for redirecting some of the worst tics, so that, let's say, if she had an eye roll thing that she did, if she rolls her eyes, then she can push her tongue against the top of her mouth instead, so that it sort of redirects that, and it's a less disruptive, less embarrassing situation for her, because it had gotten to the point where she was doing this out in public. So that was an incredibly challenging situation, and you just work through it. You just, it's like solving any problem, except when it's your kid. You just don't give up. You never give up. And so today, I'm happy to report that she stopped taking medication about a year ago for it, and her tics are very manageable. She still does have some things that she deals with, mainly when she's very stressed out. But there's a percentage of people who grow out of it and never have to deal with it again. And we're certainly hoping that is the path that she's on, because it has definitely subsided. But yeah, any parent going through any sort of health situation, my heart goes out to you, because there's nothing in the world like the feeling of helplessness when you're dealing with something that you feel like a child did nothing to deserve. So yeah, you do the best you can. You keep going.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And thank you for sharing that. That was great.
Yeah.
Fatherhood is full of tough decisions. Any particular tough decision you've had to make as a dad? And
yeah, many.
Besides Snapchat.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know how personal we want to get here. I mentioned this a little bit, but her mother and I are not together, and without question, that was the most difficult situation of my life. Her mother's a wonderful human being, and we just were not. Our communication styles were so different, and we were so different that it got to the point where I had to decide, what kind of experience do I want my daughter to have growing up? Do I want her to believe that this is a normal situation, a normal relationship? Do I want her to have this as the role model? Or, is there something else that would be better? Or is that something else that I'm thinking of really going to be the thing that destroys her and really is her villain origin story? And millions of people go through the same thing. I'm certainly not alone. But that was the hardest decision I ever made. And the one thing I made clear, I didn't care about anything other than making sure that I could still see her and be with her. Yeah. And luckily, that is the situation that came out of this, that we have joint custody and we work well together, I think, in that area. So, yeah, that was absolutely devastating for me, for her, and I can only hope that she understands that I did it not just for my own sanity, but because I wanted the best life for her. And I wanted her to not see two people be completely passive-aggressive with each other for the rest of her life.
Fair enough. It's a lot of responsibility.
Not the decision. It's a lot. And I'm not like, anybody who's in a situation, you've got to make the decision that you think is best for you and your family. But for us, I think it was the best way to go. And, we have had conversation about it, and she has said on many occasions, you and Mom are just incredibly different people. And we really are. And I think that's, in some ways, that's a benefit too, right? Like, she gets a certain perspective on things from me, and she gets a different perspective from her mother, and I think that's great. I think that she's a good mix of both of those things, because I don't know which one's right or wrong, or that it even matters. It's just good that she has two very different people giving her two very different perspectives on a lot of things, I think.
Is there anything that you believed about the whole parenting experience that has completely changed at this point?
Well, I think when you don't have children, well, I know this because or at least maybe I was arrogant enough to think this. Like, you think you know a lot about it. You think that it's going to, not that it will be easy, but that it's just not as difficult as it is at times. And especially, I had a friend who had children early in life, and I never could quite relate, because I always thought, well, what's the problem? What's the challenge here? Why is this a struggle? So I think there's a tendency when you don't have children to just think that it's not a big deal. And I think, being a parent, going through that change, it's just such a fundamental shift that, you have to, abandon the way you thought about things and admit that you don't know everything, and admit that there are going to be times when you're going to be wrong, and admit that there are going to be times that you make the wrong decision, and you just have to try and do the best that you can, and with the tools that you have. And I don't know, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. And how about a time when you feel like, you really leveled up? You ran into the mushroom and you got superpowers as a father. I tried to make a Mario Kart thing, but I don't know.
Right. I get it. We love Mario Kart, by the way. We play lots of Mario Kart. or have played Mario Kart. She's much more into Roblox. Had gotten much more into Roblox. Leveled up as a father, I don't know. I think that there have been times that I have worked with her a lot and been very proud of her putting in the effort. I've really tried to emphasize that it's not always the outcome, and it's not, it's not like, oh, you accomplish this because you're smart, but you accomplish this because you set your mind to it and you put your effort into it and you worked really hard and you achieved this. We just had a situation with math. She's always been a straight A kid, and she switched schools this year, and she's got a new math teacher, and she's doing great in every other subject, but for some reason this year in math, she has been struggling a little bit, and we have really had to work on that, which has been a challenge for me too, right? Because I haven't done that stuff in however many years, dozens of years. So learning 7th grade math has not been a treat for me. Having to go back and, redo all of that stuff. They got, I don't think my parents ever helped me with math, or at least I don't remember that being a thing from middle school on. But I don't know what I would do without ChatGPT, to be honest with you. Every single thing I have to be like, ChatGPT, talk to me like I'm a 7th grader, and help me figure this out. And then it does. And then I'm able to work with her and show her that. So I would say that being able to spend the time with her to get her to see the value in working hard towards something. And I say all of that leading up to this. She had really struggled with it, and she just texted me this morning a picture of, we've got a little app where the teacher posts her grades, and she took a makeup test because she was out with the flu on her birthday on Friday. She went in early. I took her in early on Friday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning to take this makeup test that she was sure she was going to fail, and she made 100 on it.
Oh, wow.
And
that's awesome.
I'm amazed, but I am thrilled for her because she really needed it. She really, not the grade. I mean, she needed the grade, but she really needed the win. She needed to see that all of this stuff pays off. And so I think there are moments like that where, spending that time, investing that time, making sure that they understand that the process is the point, and working hard towards something that you want to achieve, and then achieving it is a valuable lesson.
That's excellent, and I'm definitely going to remember that Chat GPT trick when homework comes to be.
Well, you've got a few years, so it might be something completely different. You're probably just going to have your own robot at that point, right? Teachers will be gone because that'll be dismantled pretty soon. So
yeah, pretty much, and
we'll just have robots that teach our children.
Probably. Speaking of technology, if you could go back in time or you had a TARDIS or something to that effect, find your younger self before you became a dad, what would you say?
I would say a lot of things. I would mainly investment advice and career thing, but I think be kinder to yourself. Is a big thing. I read a lot of books before, leading up to her arrival, and I can't tell you that I used any of those books. I honestly can't say that there was much in that helped me at all, outside of being fearful that I wasn't doing the right thing. So I'm not saying don't be educated on, basic the basic needs of a child. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't beat yourself up over every single, you read this book and it tells you absolutely don't do this. You read another book, it says absolutely don't do that. Don't beat yourself up over all of that stuff. Just try to be the best person you can be and be that for your child. If you, I've tried to instill this in her too. And it's very simple, and this is not new. It's just treat other people the way you want to be treated. That's it. If almost every situation in life, I think, can come down to treat other people the way you want to be treated. And if you do that, then you're doing the best you can. And I would tell myself that. Just do the best you can. Treat her the way you want to be treated. Don't beat yourself up so much over every little thing and whether or not you're screwing this up or whether or not you're screwing that up. But you got to put forth effort, right? You can't just be like, whatever. But be kind to yourself and know that, as long as you're a good person and you're doing what you believe you're right to the best of your ability, I think you'll find your kids are going to respect that.
Yeah, I think that would be great advice. When you think about Remy as an adult and looking back at her childhood, what do you hope that she remembers most about you as a father?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe my abs. I don't know. I don't know. It's I hope that so the serious answer would just be that I hope that she understands that I did the best I could with what I had. That I was not always perfect, and no one's ever going to always be perfect, and life isn't perfect. But we all, if we're trying and we're kind, we're doing the best we can with what we've got. And I hope that she understands that and appreciates that, and that she takes that into her own life. And the other thing I'd say is my work ethic. I haven't talked a lot about this, but I work a lot. And I do travel quite a bit, and I've worried about that quite a bit, right? Like, am I missing this? Am I missing that? And I hope that she understands how, that a lot of what I do, if not all of what I do, is for her. And making sure that she has the best life she can have, and that it kills me when I do have to be gone, but yeah, I hope that she knows that there is something to be gained from having a strong work ethic, and just that she knows that I am doing the best I can.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for your time, and just one last thing. Anything else?
Sure.
If you had to, you've got hopefully an audience here where we can talk to other fathers who might be looking for guidance. Any sage wisdom to leave them with?
Well, other than Zigazoo, which I recommend for anyone looking to get their child away from Snapchat. I think a lot of the things I've already said. I think just really try to be kind to yourself and try to listen to your kid and respect who they are becoming and take an interest in who they are becoming. I mean, my daughter has been so many things in her life. She's 13 years old, and we've been through so many iterations of her. I've heard it said before that, like, every year you meet a new person, and it really to some degree is true. and you just need to be present for that. And it's been a struggle for me sometimes because I was really attached to the artist, Remy. She went through a phase where she was an incredible artist. I mean, she could just draw anything. And I was, everybody was like, okay, this is what she is. This is this. And just in the last few years, she's now a teenager. She has her opinions about things. She's very interested in being cool. And she is not so interested anymore in being an artist, which has kind of broken my heart. But you've got to get through that and just meet the person she is at that moment and understand the person, that your child is at that moment and the things that they're going through. And be supportive. And, obviously you got to make sure that you're steering them down the right path and all of that good stuff, but just be present for who they are at every moment in the stage because it will change.
All right. I would say that qualifies as sage advice. Thank you so much, Joe.
Nice.
And you have a great, great afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob. Thanks for inviting me.
I want to tell you a little bit about my next project that I'm working on. One of the things that I've always liked to do, either with a partner or even with my kids, I remember fondly playing games. I think family game nights are the perfect opportunity to make memories, share laughs. Scrabble has always been really important to me and my significant others. I play with my first wife, and I also play with my wife today. And we are highly competitive. We play sometimes, at some points, we were playing 7 games a day. You can't really do that with a toddler, but I think, gaming is a lot of fun. And I've always loved chess. Not particularly good at it, but I've loved it. And I've always been fond of the game Go, and always wanted to really learn Go and make that part of who I am. And I think that the feeling that I get, when spending that time together, and the conversation you have, and the competitiveness that you feel, I just think playing board games and getting out of the staring at your phone mentality for passing the time, I think is a very positive thing. So I've always wanted to learn Go, and so I went on this kind of researching. I need a partner for Go, and I think my wife will join me. But I also thought, is this something I could play with Sage? Is this something that I could incorporate into our relationship? And in other cultures, they really learning Go is part of that sort of preschool, early elementary school time frame, and it teaches so many different aspects of strategy and problem solving, thinking ahead, decision making. I think that it has an influence on long-term success. I mean, you can't ignore it. Albert Einstein, great physicist, developer of the theory of relativity, was a Go player, interested in the patterns and the fact that there's infinite possibilities. So he was known to enjoy Go. The Sun Tzu, the author of Art of War, is required reading in business. Alan Turing, the father of modern computing and AI, was a Go player. Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, investor in Facebook, AI researcher. Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, OpenAI, arguably shadow president. You don't have to agree with his politics, but he has referenced Go in his discussions about AI, strategic thinking, long-term vision. He thinks breaking down problems into their fundamental truths aligns with Go's methodological and adaptive approach to problem solving. The battle between human and AI in Go has influenced his views on the future of artificial intelligence. Anyway, so from military leaders to physicists, AI pioneers, and entrepreneurs, Go has been a powerful tool for shaping the minds of influential figures. The game's emphasis on strategy, patience, long-term planning makes it a perfect metaphor for success in life, whether that's business or innovation. So I made this decision that I'm going to do this with my daughter. I'm going to make this part of our relationship. And is she too young? She's about to turn 3. So I did a little research. I'm not an expert Go player. I've had a board for a few years because I really wanted to learn, but then other priorities took over and blah, blah, blah. It's same old. I've got a few hobbies that are sitting, waiting for me to get reinvigorated, as I'm sure you do as well. So anyway, I started researching and really found that the time when Japanese and Chinese cultures start to incorporate Go into the classroom and into it's 4 or 5 years old. All right, so Sage is a little early, but I would argue with you that she has proud father here, a pretty good attention span and pretty good interest in this type of stuff. I don't want to flood her too early, but I want her to catch, a desire to learn, and maybe it takes, 2 years or 3 years before her interest becomes this thing that we do together. So I started thinking about, okay, well, I want to teach this to her and teach it in a meaningful way. And so I looked for resources, as every parent would, whether their kid is 5 years old or 3 years old. It's and I really couldn't find much. I have a book on Go for beginners, definitely not targeted at toddlers or young people. So I wanted to create something that would guide our journey. And so I'm creating a few different things. The first thing that I'm creating is a book. And I want it to be a book that I can share with Sage at this age. She won't understand it completely. But I want it to be a story about maturing and learning and a journey to understand the true nature of harmony and thinking ahead. So the title of the book, or the working title of the book, is The Way of the Stones. Sage's journey, something about go. Oh, I'll figure that out later. Anyway, she loves puzzles. She loves stories. She's always searching for wisdom in the world around her. And a village elder talks to her about the game of Go and how it teaches strategy, balance, and patience. And how this lights a fire in Sage's heart. And she seeks to find, where she can develop this wisdom. And the village elder says, at the Temple of Black and White, where the game was first taught to great emperors and warriors of old, and sets her up to face challenges along the way. And she sets off basically on this hero's journey, carrying only a small go board and a pouch filled with black and white stones. And as she ventures, she meets several characters who teach her different aspects of the game. Patience and foresight, looking how to control the board and to take defense as a form of attack, and waiting for your moment as part of the victory. And to understand that in order to win, you also have to give and take, and you have to know when to fight and when to let go, and how to share the board and not necessarily focus too much on destroying your opponent in the process. And when she reaches this Temple of Black and White, and she has these lessons that she's learned from these characters along the way, she's going to find this new wisdom of the stones, and now it's her task to share it with others. And from that day forward, she really becomes the mentor, the teacher in all of this. I wanted to incorporate a little bit of the history of the game, but also have a lesson plan that could be used, and I'll focus on a child that's maybe a little older than Sage is right now, and maybe we spend more time in sort of the first couple of phases where it's just about familiarizing yourself with the board and the stones and basic concepts, before you get into capturing territories and I can spend a lot of time with Sage just on those simple things, and familiarizing and piquing her interest around the game. And I just think that having looked for a resource that would help a parent learn alongside a child, and to introduce this 4,000-year-old game to a new generation, and there not being a resource out there, I thought, well, maybe there are people out there who would find that interesting and would understand that this has been a vital part of the aristocrat scholarly life. It's been played by emperors and generals and philosophers, and it reached Japan in the 7th century. It was refined and elevated to a new art form. really has become institutionalized, and schools are dedicated to training master players, and the games continue to evolve, and in the 20th century it's really gained international recognition, leading to tournaments worldwide. I remember, as a tech guy, how significant it was when the computer first beat a master Go player, and how that was, the start of this whole AI revolution. So my goal is, over the next few weeks, to finish the book, The Way of the Stones. I'll release that. I'll talk a little bit about it when it comes out. But I think that there's somebody out there who's gonna want to go on this journey with me and take their 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old and introduce them to something that has rich history and is really a cultural treasure. And maybe that balance and wisdom that you get, fact that it's so simple, but at the same time has this infinite depth, and it's enjoyed, by millions around the world, and it doesn't plug into the wall, and it's not on a TV screen, and it teaches respect and patience, and those are things that I think are critical to success, and they hopefully will give my daughter a little bit of an advantage in her life if she learns these fundamentals early. And we'll see. I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to overwhelm her with trying to learn and to be a good player. What I want is a spark of interest, and if she shows a spark of interest, then I'll nurture that over time. And I think I share this decision that I'm going to play with her and to introduce her to this. I share it because I thought it was a unique thing that my mind went there to a very long-term strategy. There's no immediate payoff. There's no, it's going to take a long time before I see if this works or not. And I do know one thing. I don't want her buried in an iPhone when she's in middle school. I don't want her life to be completely defined by technology. Sometimes the most incredible things that we have developed as humans have very little to do with technology. And I think we lose sight of that in this world of everybody growing up, never knowing a world without Google or a world without a phone in every pocket. And those individuals, I think there's a risk that they lose the value of all of those things that the human culture, human experience has created, that involve quiet and focus and thought. And if we lose that, we lose who we are. And so we'll see. I'll give updates. May even do a couple of spots with my lessons and see how that works out. But in the next month or so, I'll release the book, and that'll be the first step in this Go journey. And I look forward to it, and I look forward to your feedback. Rob at sagedad.life. And let me know. I'll talk to you soon. There is something truly special about reading to a child. It's more than just words on a page. It's laughter, connection, and the little moments that turn into lifelong memories. Whether it's a silly story that gets them giggling or a bedtime favorite they ask for night after night, books have a way of bringing us closer. In this segment, we're going to dive into some of the best and most read books in our house. Because stories that we share today shape the love of reading for a lifetime. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple of these books. One is incredibly self-serving. It is the first book that I have launched in hopefully a series of books that are designed to react and enhance experiences that I have with Sage. So this particular book is called New Horizons for Pluto. And it really came about from working with Sage on planets and pretending to be astronauts and pretending to do blast off every night as she goes to sleep. And we talked about the planets. And, my generation, Pluto was a planet. Sorry, it was. And as I described the various planets, I included Pluto in my talk. And, she told me one night that Pluto was her favorite planet. And so I wanted to, really for my own education and for hers, to really understand what happened with Pluto and why and what we know now and what we knew then. And so I collected this information and I put it together in a story that's founded in kind of the premise of being cut from a baseball team and how Pluto rebounds from that and really finds his own space among the dwarf worlds. And I think it worked out pretty good. There's a recipe and an art project in the back of the book. It's available on Amazon. Again, that's New Horizons for Pluto. So I hope you enjoy it. The next one is very, very special. This is called The Honeybee. I purchased The Honeybee from an airport bookstore for the one period of time where I was away while my daughter was in the NICU. And I wanted her to have something special. I used to buy my older daughter piggy banks every time I went traveling and with the name of the place that I went to. And that was really special for me. And I could bring that back to her. So I wanted Sage to have something from that trip. She was obviously too young to completely understand that I was thinking of her, but we got this book, and it's called The Honeybee. And it's from Kristen Hall and Isabella Arsenault, I believe. And I'm assuming that Isabella was the illustrator, although it's not 100% clear from the credits. It's by Little Simon Press, and it is basically a poem. I'll read the first couple of pages. A field, a tree, climate, and sea. For miles around, all around you, grow wild and free flowers. But then, shh, what's that? And basically the book goes through and the journey of this bee to find nectar and to collect it and to inform the hive and convert the nectar to honey and all of the wonderful things that bees do. And we have read this book countless times. I tend at night to have a problem with it because some of the type is a little small and my eyes are a little old. And my wife doesn't have that problem because she's read this so many times that she's got it memorized and can really recite it without the book. It's very, very special to us. It's one of those board books that has felt the wear and tear of use, and I fully intend to get another copy that I can hand down to my daughter so that if she is lucky enough to have children someday, she can share it with them as well. So I highly recommend it. Again, this is the Honeybee, and it is a wonderful, wonderful read. All right, that is all for today. And that was a lot. I kind of ran over my allotted time, but I just want to let you know that this has been really fun to share. I hope that you enjoyed something from this, if not me, from the wonderful stories from Joe. I do think that as we get deeper and deeper into this podcast, we will explore different themes together, and we will learn how to be better parents, how to be better people. And that's my hope. And until then, until next week, you have a great, great